Welcome back, everybody, to the College Football Show presented by the Regular Usual. It's Rivalry Week. Rivalry Week. I'm going to butcher that time and time again, but for the uninformed, I'm your host, Jordan Nash, and Rivalry Week is just what it sounds like. It's where college football teams play their biggest rivals to kind of wind out the season and see who can either make their season or ruin it, regardless if a bowl game's on the line or not. I have a lot of games to break down this week, but as I do each and every week, I break down the previous. I'm going to break down the previous week and let you know how I did. Last week's episode for college football for week 12, I was joined with my friend Andrew. He came on, did very well. It was one of the longest episodes I'd done yet. Overall, for between Drew and myself, for our little, we never really bet on anything, but we did have just kind of see who's the better. Who knows sports better? And that's basically what we did. I went 3-2, while Drew went 2-3. The difference maker on that one, I mean, it was kind of all over the place. We were heading even going into the final game of the night, which was the UCF game, where UCF ended up pulling out the W, 38-13. And as of I think about an hour and a half ago, they were rewarded with a spot in the college football playoff in the top 10, the highest ranked group of 5 team since the college football playoffs inception. Overall for the week, I went 5-3. Some of my best wins in the shoe money section kind of came during the middle of the afternoon, where I took some over-unders with Miami and Oklahoma State. I ended up taking Idaho plus 55.5 at Florida, and that paid out, as well as Maryland, 4.5, giving 4.5 points with Ohio State heading up to wherever the hell they're at in Maryland. Overall, on the season, ended up at 56-43-4, which keeps the win record at 54%. There's a chance, though, this week I have a lot of games mapped out that maybe we hit 55%. And that might be as high as we can go for the regular season, and then we'll see what happens when bowl season comes out. This week, though, I don't have a guest you can see, mainly because he lives, 900 miles away, and I couldn't quite get some of the software worked out to give you good audio, or actually good video, if I'm being honest, while I recorded this week. And I don't want to give a detrimental project, or put out any detrimental or substandard, whatever you want to call it. You know what the fuck I'm saying. Not trying to put out any shitty work at all. So I'm going to go ahead and call him in right now. And let's see if I hope he picks up. Jeez. I'm about to find out. Calling him in now. Yeah, legitimately calling. Boom. Why would I lie about this? I told you I would. Yo, ¿cómo está?
You caught me at a good time to not speak Spanish to you.
All right, well,
I'm doing well.
That's good to hear. Folks, you're hearing one of my longtime friends who, Will, how far away is Alabama from Florida? Or from LaBelle, Fort Myers area to Alabama? You've made the drive.
It depends. It depends heavily on the traffic on I-75. You can have a good day on I-75, you can have a bad day on I-75, and the over-under on that 3 hours. So, it's anywhere from 8 to 11 hours.
Yeah, you weren't lying. The whistle was indeed necessary. Yeah, if y'all can't tell, folks, Will is not here in the studio or in the kitchen with me. He's actually... Where are you at right now, Will?
I'm sitting in my living room in my easy chair in front of the TV watching the Duke-Auburn basketball game in Hawaii currently.
You understand, we're talking football right now, though, right?
That is correct.
I know. What would you say you're a bigger fan of? College football, pro football, or college basketball?
College football, college basketball, pro football, 1 to 3. With probably the NBA being ahead of the NFL, I just don't care for the NFL.
That's good to know. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a mindset to where Will's at. He's in the same boat as myself. I'd pretty much watch any college sport over anything professional. And Will, if I'm not mistaken, this is the second time you've been on the show. I think you were on, 2 years ago?
Yes, it was quite while ago. I was actually down in Florida visiting family with you. Yeah, it's been a year or two. Actually hanging out in Lewiston.
Well, damn. I know you had horrible service, and it was kind of a challenge, but we made it happen, and we're going to make it happen here again tonight.
Absolutely. That's what I love to hear.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. I will always try to have people on who I know actually watch college football. I had a couple people reach out and say, hey, I want to be on the show, and be like, okay, cool. I know you don't watch football, and you just want to meet us. You just want to sit with me on camera.
Yeah.
And that one really does work with me. Besides, we know each other well. We communicate pretty regularly via the social medias, especially Snapchat and Twitter. And if you want, you can go ahead and plug your socials now if you care to.
Yeah, you can follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Handle Will You Be My Neighbor. Substitute 3-letter word for you for just a single letter, and B, the initial for my last name, neighbor minus the O, and that'll find me. Do a lot of cat snaps, college sports, and pretty much document my day-to-day life.
Like every other person out there. Will's a good follow, though. I definitely recommend it, especially on Twitter, where he's a little bit more active, I would say. Yeah.
My main would be definitely the Twitter.
Yeah, same here. I have a whole thing I've still been writing for a little while about why everyone needs a Twitter account. I can't wait to push that.
We handle farm cash holding the firearms. Support your Second Amendment, ladies and gentlemen. They're not trying to take the guns away. They just want to limit what we've got. And come on, I mean, not that bad, even if the process takes longer. I mean, who needs it? Nobody I know. So, give in, rednecks. The South's not rising again.
See, you've heard it from a Southerner yourself, folks. There's nothing to worry about. And again, if you missed Will's Instagram handle or Twitter handles, I'll put that in the show notes, and I'll probably be tagging him somewhere on this, wherever you want to find it. Will, you ready to talk these first games?
Let's do it.
All right, my friend. We're going to start out in the Egg Bowl, where we have number 12, Mississippi State. And of course, by the way, people, I'm going to be using the AP rankings, not the playoff rankings, because when I put this together, playoff hadn't come out yet. So we have number 12, Mississippi State, as 10.5-point favorites on the road at Ole Miss. Will, I'm going to defer to you right away since you're more of an SEC fan than I am. What's your initial gut instinct, gut reaction?
Initial gut instinct is probably that Nick Fitzgerald and the Bulldogs are going to run all over Matt Luke and the
Rebels.
What are we now? Sharks, Rebels, Black Bears, the Colonel Akbar, Admiral Akbar. Apologies to my Star Wars fans out there. I misspoke. I'm not sure who Ole Miss is currently. They're looking for an identity on and off the football field. I think this is going to be an easy day for Mississippi State.
So they should be able to cover the 10, no problem. I mean, that's what my thoughts were, especially looking at Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss is even fighting for bowl eligibility. They've gone to shit since Hugh Freeze got left or was fired, however you want to phrase it.
Yes.
I can't. Who is the head coach? Do we know who the head coach is there off the top of your head?
He was a coordinator with the team, and they just promoted him, and then they stuck with him. I think they're currently still on sanctions, and I think their reasoning is as long as they're on sanctions, nobody good's coming to Oxford, so might as well stick with this schmuck and see where the future takes us. But
if you were a betting man for this game, would you be confident in the Bulldogs to cover 10.5 to 11 points in this one?
Yes, I would.
You know what? I'm gonna go for
but
it.
he don't make money, so.
All right, well, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to be on the same boat and ride that train with you. I'm taking Mississippi State and the points. Mississippi State and the points. Next game up, I have number 8 UCF as 14-point favorites on the road, taking on USF in the War in I-4. You mind if I jump in on this one first, Will?
This is your bread and butter, brother, so let's hear it.
All right. For those of you who didn't listen to last week's episode or have been paying attention to all this year to anything college football, UCF, a Group 5 school where I graduated from, is kind of was the center of the college football world last weekend, where they had game day come to campus. They took on Cincinnati. They blew them out of the water 38-13. Now they're taking on a team in USF led by Charlie Strong, who looked good or looked promising 4 weeks ago, but it completely fell to shit through the end of October. And I mean, they've been on a 4-game losing streak since. They haven't picked up any wins, and the quarterback play has dropped worse and worse. They are led by quarterback Blake Barnett, USF that is, who at one time I believe was at Alabama. Will, is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
I know he was
I believe right. So far down the roster, I don't think he was even listed.
Yeah, and I know he went from there to Arizona, lost out the starting job, and then ended up at USF trying to make some sort of semblance of a college career without being a journeyman and being a sixth-year senior, truth be told. But UCF getting 14 in this one. I'm actually going to be going to this game. It's going to be Friday at 4:15. And to be honest, Will, I think UCF might blow this game out by 30 points, especially the way they looked Saturday night. And I know a lot can change in 7 days, especially when it's a rivalry game. You always say, oh, throw the records out the window. Doesn't matter. UCF has kind of owned this game for the last recent history. Thoughts?
I'm going to be right there with you. Shout out Jordan Cronkright. We miss you, baby. I'm sorry things went south. We lost who we were there for a few years, and you're doing big things at USF. However, with that being said, this Saturday is probably not going to work out too well for you against UCF. So I'm right there with you. I look for this to be a blowout and early. USF has no business playing on the same field as Central Florida.
Well, out of curiosity, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Growing up a Florida, actually, I'm going to let you kind of explain your sports loyalties. That might be better.
We all grew up together in the Bell. Parents, grandparents were huge Florida Gator fans. Grew up loving diehard Florida Gators. I despise Miami and despise Florida State. I think they're just both the scum of the earth. I hate them. And then we moved to Alabama in 2001, and I started school up here in the 6th grade. And literally the first question I was asked, actually there were always two questions you were asked growing up. I realized when I got here in the 6th grade. One is, where do you go to church? Because you have to belong to a church. If you're not going to church, man, you're just like shunned from everybody. And the second question they're going to ask you is Auburn or Alabama, and neither is not an acceptable answer. And one of them is far superior than the other, and they want to know your opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, not gonna. I was headed to Auburn, went to Tuscaloosa instead, and started cheering on the Alabama Crimson Tide.
So you've been a fan of the Tide for what, 15, 16 years now?
Yeah, I'd have to say so. I never really cared for either until I went to Alabama for college, and then it was just I do love the Tide.
Yeah, I mean,
you can
go ahead.
Optus fan or whatever, get a lot of money there, so I'll cheer for who I want.
That's fair enough. I like that. But you're still a Florida Gator fan at heart, correct?
Absolutely. Number one, go Gators.
I know our boy Dirty Joe was going to join us tonight, and I don't know of two bigger Gator fans besides him, you, and maybe his brother.
Oh, no, those two take the cake. Those two take the cake. I'm not even in the same conversation as those guys. They eat, sleep, breathe, defecate Florida football, Florida basketball, baseball.
They even
They're always on the.
you see them retweet like the Gators softball team scores and stuff like that.
Yo, man, I'm telling you, they travel out west for baseball every year that the Gators make it to Omaha. You can believe that Dick Hobbs and Wes will be there. Basketball games, football games. I tend to just frequent Tuscaloosa. I travel not too far from the home base on game days. But you can always catch me with the games on my phone and TVs.
Well, that's good.
Watching along.
Good to hear. Well, now that you've kind of given a little bit of your background and that you are a Gator fan at heart, but you pull for the Tide, especially while residing in the great state of Alabama, what is your opinion on UCF, A, claiming national championship for 2017, and B, a potential opponent for Florida out in the Fiesta Bowl come bowl season?
Number one, you claim full. It's Bush League. Hey, congratulations on your 22 wins in a row and how many games scoring 30 straight points and just, blowing out everybody. But you didn't win it, The committee that appoints it didn't appoint you, so therefore it's not real. Yeah, congratulations. Y'all done an amazing job. Nobody in the world thought y'all were going to beat Auburn last year in the bowl game. But you did.
Hey, I bet on Auburn when it came to the bowl game last year. I'll be honest. Even as a UCF alumni, I bet on Auburn. I didn't think UCF would have a chance in that one.
Yeah, and after watching that and continuing, momentum's a real thing. Never count out somebody just because on paper someone looks to be far superior. That it just should be a cakewalk. Because I'm telling you, if a bunch of kids roll in with the right head of steam and want to do what it takes, there's a reason it's a team game. It's not just a me sport.
Mm-hmm.
If you get 11 kids out there that are on the same page, I've seen a lot of great teams beat a lot of great players. Can you repeat the question?
No. That you answered that perfectly. The second part of the question was, I saw one of the.
Don't do that. As a diehard, lifelong Florida fan, I don't want to play UCF. If we win, yeah, that's right. We're Florida. We're supposed to win. If we don't, man.
Yeah, that would be think about the recruiting implications, first of all, that would go into that. These kids who are kind of on the fence, these guys who are on the cusp, are like, I could probably go to UCF and start, or I could go to Florida and maybe get on the field on special teams freshman year. And I'm actually closer to home here. I don't have to go to bumfuck nowhere in Gainesville. I'm in one of the biggest tourist destination cities in the world, or in the U.S.
Let me just tell you a quick story, kind of a parable, if you will.
Fair enough.
About Florida playing UCF. So when I was in Tuscaloosa, we had the April 27th tornadoes in 2011. It just ripped straight through the middle of the city, man. It was bad. Lives were lost, millions upon millions of dollars of damage done. And our mayor was Walt Maddox, Democrat, youngest mayor ever, I think, in the city of Tuscaloosa. Just did an amazing job. Just ran for governor of the state on the Democratic ticket against a Republican who would not even debate him on television because she said there was no need to. And she was right because the Alabama people, majority of it's Republican, and they just went in there and voted Republican ticket. But I'm telling you, man, Walt Maddox would have made a great mayor or governor. I'm sorry.
Will, how is that parable?
it may not be.
Okay, I didn't know this was a sponsored ad by the guy who just ran, or what was really
No,
good.
I'm telling you, man. Florida, there's no need to play UCF. I don't want to play them.
Okay.
There's nothing to prove there. So, and she knew it, and I'm telling you, I don't want to play UCF.
Fair enough. Even as a Miami fan, UCF alum, Miami fan still.
Don't play.
Nobody in Florida wants anything to do with UCF. None of the major programs want anything to do with UCF.
No.
So.
What are y'all doing?
I'm sorry?
What's going on in Coral Gables?
Oh, you want to talk Coral Gables for a moment?
Yeah, I know that's not on your list, but come on, man. I want to know.
The real dirt is Rick has bobbled this quarterback. He's ruined this quarterback situation this year, and he's basically doing the same thing he did at Georgia, where he'll pull a couple guys in who he wants to run this pro style system where clearly he doesn't have the horses he had at Georgia with the offensive line, with the skill set players, with the defense, and he can't just overpower people. He's trying to do that at Miami. He doesn't have the personnel to do it. On top of a fucked up quarterback situation, Miami runs about 7 different plays, and that's it. A lot of it is a lot of verticals, and when Malik Rozier was in there, he couldn't get the wide receivers or tight ends the ball, and it resulted in a lot of picks, and the defense having to bail Miami out. It's a shame that Miami is a top 5 defense statistically, and their offense is down, hanging around 103. If that gives you any hint of anything, yeah, they aren't. There's a reason they're 6-5 and just got bowl eligibility last week. I'm very upset by it. I actually watched some of the game last week, which is the most I've watched in a month, and they ended up winning. I don't want to say that because I watched or paid more attention, Miami did better, but I haven't seen any evidence against that so far. So we'll wait and see what happens. I'd be really happy if they go and play Houston, which they might be projected to in the Sun Bowl out in it's somewhere in Texas if I'm not mistaken.
Who are y'all playing this week?
They play Pittsburgh in Miami this week. Pittsburgh is a 3-point favorite if I'm not mistaken.
Y'all usually pick up Florida State, what, like the 3rd game of the year?
We took on Florida State, I think, game 4.
Okay. I know it's early in the season. It's odd because, I mean, that's a pretty big rivalry game. Usually you're not getting that.
Yeah, it's usually around that first, second week of October. This year, it's like, boom, we're going right from the jump. Let's get it. And hell, I remember being in high school and they played on Labor Day weekend for 2 years. First game of the season.
Yeah, that's trash.
Yeah, especially opening up against your biggest rival week 1. Who wants to do that?
Next year, 2019, big rival, week 1. What you got?
I don't even know who Miami has.
None. In Orlando, you're playing the Fighting Dan Mullen.
We're taking on the Gators in Orlando next year?
Oh, yes. Look it up.
I am right now.
Not your boy Smart on his own show.
Son of a bitch, you are absolutely right. Camping World Kickoff.
It's a year trip somewhere. Show me around your hometown. What you got going on?
I might have to. If that ends up being something that comes to fruition next fall, we may have to make that happen, unlike my venture off to Alabama.
I promise I won't get sick.
We won't have a repeat of last year where me and Gianna head all the way up to Alabama looking to meet up with you in Tuscaloosa, and, oh, I'm sick. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, you turned me on to a good spot to go, but that bitch was packed.
Man, 9. Big 6.
Huh. Whoa. Oh, I don't know what my phone was doing there. But, yeah, we can definitely make that happen. But, I'm going to jump right back into this. We're going to both agree on UCF covering the spread big here. We're going to head out to the Big 12. We have number 6 Oklahoma as 1.5 point favorites over number 12 West Virginia. West Virginia took their L last week to Oklahoma State 45-41. Oklahoma hasn't lost since the Texas game. We're playing in Morgantown. Are we going to have some burning couches this weekend or not?
God, that's a toss-up. You know what? I'm gonna go with Will Greer on this one. This is just a gut instinct, and I am very biased, so don't put any money on my behalf. I'm just letting you know what I would love to see and what I think will happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Will Greer torch him.
I'm going to be honest, I'd like to see it as well, just to kind of shake things up. I don't really think there's any team in the Big 12 that deserves to be on the outside looking in. And it'd be a repeat of last year, too, if you get to the bowl season, if Oklahoma were to beat Texas again, which they probably will. We have Oklahoma, Georgia, in the Cotton Bowl, or whichever one it is, for the next teams up. And
yeah,
I don't like repeats. I'd like to see West Virginia go in there, light up the scoreboard a little bit. We know neither team has a defense. They can't stop anybody. That's Big 12 football, dude. Run up the board. They play quintessential football. As long as you score more points than the other team, you're going to win.
Yeah, that's all that matters. And I've never understood it, but hey, it works for them until they don't win championships, and they bitch about why us.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a total team, you just have an offensive juggernaut.
Speaking of Big 12 again, I know I'm kind of taking us all over the place. How about your boy Les Miles becoming the new coach of Kansas?
That guy's a few colors short of a full box of crayons. But hell, I don't know what he does, but he can coach his ass off. He's not on the same level as Nick Saban, dare I say, Urban Meyer.
Ooh, careful now.
Yeah, gonna catch a lot of blowback for that. I'm not saying Urban Meyer's in the same boat as Nick Saban. I'm just saying that Les Miles is not on either of their levels. But he'll screw around and win one every once in a while. He'll get lucky. Blind squirrels find a nut every once in a while is what they say. And he said the grass was greener in Kansas.
I'm trying to see what his overall head coaching record is. He's 141-55. So that's a pretty good win percentage. I wish it gave me an actual breakdown without me having to do math, but still, you're 100% correct. Les Miles can coach his ass off. I, for one, was really looking forward. I saw an article on I can't remember what website. It was a link on Twitter I clicked, where the dude was suggesting having one of those teams like Navy's head coach or any of the service academies and Georgia Tech, like somebody like that, take the triple option offense out to the Big 12 where all their defenses are geared to beat the spread but not to defend the run. And we saw what teams who aren't really prepared to face it week in and week out, they struggle with that triple option.
It's fun to watch those games.
It's a lot of fun. I think they would do damage out in the Big 12 as well. That's kind of the main idea of the article, that the triple option use in the Big 12 would reign supreme and probably be a conference champion every year because teams just can't stop it. Their defenses aren't built to stop it. They're built to that 4-2-5 defense where it's just kind of man up in a little bit of zone and not necessarily playing like having to read too much, if that makes any sense. But
yeah, makes a lot of sense.
okay, cool. I just want to make sure I wasn't crazy. As for the pick for the game, though, you're going to go with your boy Will Greer. I'm going to have to go the other way with the highest played player in college football in Kyler Murray, who I personally think should be the front runner at Heisman, just the way he performs on the field. He doesn't have the offensive line or supporting cast around him like Tua Tagovailoa does. I'm sure you've pronounced that name.
Nobody knows how to pronounce his name.
Everyone just knows him as Tua.
The letter N. I don't know where they get the letter N, but they throw it in there and pronounce it. And, maybe they're right. How do I know?
Doesn't matter, but I expect Kyler will definitely be in that conversation as well when it comes for the Heisman Trophy race here in the next 2-3 weeks. I wouldn't be shocked if he won. I don't know, he's an odds-out favorite, but a big performance in this game as well as the Big 12 Championship, I think that puts him in the edge over Tua. And I'm going to ride with Kyler. I know that wasn't really a...
Yeah, I could honestly see it going either way. That's just my most honest, extra biased opinion. Like I said, I'm no expert. I just like watching college football, and I have an opinion just like every other asshole out there, and I'm going to speak on it.
So, all right, cool deal. You want to lead us into our next one for the Apple Cup?
For the holiday hootie woody?
For
talking about Washington State?
That's the ones I'm talking about.
Damn. Yeah, sure, why not? I like both teams, honestly. However, biased opinion again, I really like Washington State. I've always liked Washington State. Growing up on cool, crisp mornings, seeing that Cougar flag flying, it's always been there, and ESPN finally recognized it, did a story way years later. Washington, they keep popping up as well. Jake Browning, he's pretty decent. But solely on, what's his name, Mike Leach?
Yeah, the Pirate.
I'm a big fan of his. I think he's awesome. I think he's great for the game. He's the result of never taking life too seriously.
100%.
And I think the world needs more of that. More people need to chill out. Things are getting outrageous these days. And so for those reasons alone, man, I like Washington State. So do the experts. So
I wonder with this one here, say Washington State is getting 2.5 or 3 points at home. Giving 2.5, 3 points at home. That could be just based off home field advantage, much like the previous game with West Virginia and Oklahoma. The home team usually gets 1 to 2 points just because of home field advantage, especially at these bigger programs. The Huskies, they've been quietly hanging around. They were in the conversation. They made the playoff last year, year before last. Not last year, 2 years ago. Chris Peterson, I'm a big fan of him. I loved him at Boise State. I was excited to see him at a Power 5 school. They were a little bit of a disappointment this year. They, of course, lost the season opener to Auburn, which I thought was a good game. It was kind of boring, but it was a good game to see those two styles of football play. And then you have...
I knew a lot of Auburn fans that were worried about that game, and lo and behold, they were right as the season progressed. Something up in Auburn, and they've got to figure out what that is. Sorry to jump off on another subject, but
no, that's fine.
Being in the state, you gotta talk Alabama Auburn. But yeah, man, Washington State, I don't know. Like I said, biased opinion, I like Washington State.
I like Washington State too, especially my bank account, because they're 10-1 on the season and 10-1 against the spread. They cover. That's just what they do. The only time they did not cover was in their only loss, which was surprisingly to USC. Other than that, they've looked dominant. Their mustached quarterback, what's his name? Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
I think he had a nice little feature on him on game day this past weekend. Thankfully, it wasn't a Tom Rinaldi story, so he didn't have to get emotional. But I know they did a little piece on the mustached Minshew. I guess that'd be the way to say it. I don't know. But I'm gonna ride with you too. I'm all in on the Pirate. This is a game here where Washington's actually won the last 5. Washington's got to be due, right? I'm sorry, Washington State's got to be due, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, and you said earlier you're a fan of momentum. Washington State has all the momentum currently. I'm gonna ride with the Cougars. And
all right.
All right. Next up, our game day location is gonna kick us off on Saturday morning. We have number 4 Michigan heading to the Horseshoe, taking on number 10 Ohio State. Michigan getting 4.5-point favorites on the road for a rivalry game that could have used a little bit more creativity. The game. I'm not sure where to start on this. I know you spoke on Urban Meyer earlier. Do you think this is his last season in Columbus?
Do I think it is, or do I hope it is? Because I wish he would have quit a long time ago. I hate this man making the grass and it's not to be trusted.
Are you anti Meyer after he left Florida?
No. At the time, I loved him.
Mm-hmm.
But my disdain for this man has grown and festered.
I mean, I'm not necessarily against Urban Meyer. I mean, I hate him that he steals recruits away from Miami. And I'm guaranteed... What's up?
Especially all the Zach Smith drama going on this year. Let's also highlight domestic violence. That shit's bad. Why raise your fist at somebody or assault somebody in that way? That's childish behavior. Act like an adult. Talk it out.
Yeah, I think on top of just the stress of everything, kind of like it happened at Florida, he claimed health reasons. We all knew he couldn't really win without Tebow. And he didn't know what to do with himself. He gets to Ohio State after some time, comes back in, brings his boy Zach Smith up, who I think was also coached on the Florida staff, if I'm not wrong.
I believe you're correct.
And mainly did that as a favor because Zach Smith's dad was a mentor to Urban. And lo and behold, he ends up with Tom Herman and Zach Smith, who... Tom Herman, now head coach at Texas, pretty damn good offensive coordinator. He's the main reason the Buckeyes won that inaugural playoff with, what was his name? Cardale Jones?
I can't remember how he pronounced it.
But, yeah, he won under him. Yeah. During that time, there was some fuckery afoot where Zach Smith is basically wilding out on recruiting visits, heading to titty bars, watching Tom Herman get stroked off in massage parlors, and now he's running rampant. You know Urban Meyer, we both see it on Twitter, those gifs and stuff of people kind of looking in and looking back out. Urban Meyer checking his timeline every couple of minutes to see if Zach Smith's talking about him. I think it's pushed him over the edge. Just the guilt, I think, is what's kind of getting to Urban in that situation. He can't handle it anymore, and I think he's done. I hope he's done, and I hope one of the biggest jobs in college football opens up.
What ails Urban Meyer can't be fixed by Papa John's pizza. I'm sorry. Time to go. Time to go.
That would be some ultimate petty shit, because we both know Harbaugh is a fucking weirdo doing sleepovers with recruits in pajamas and just a weird fucking dude. He drinks milk with steak, that type of shit. If Michigan goes in there and handles business, if Jim Harbaugh ordered, I don't know, whatever the win margin was, ordered that many Papa John's pizzas sent to Urban Meyer. ultimate troll.
Wait, repeat. Say that one more time.
The ultimate troll move, in my opinion, if Michigan goes into the horseshoe and wins, let's say they win by 20 points. Harbaugh orders 20, because that's how many points they win by, orders 20 Papa John's pizzas and sends them over to Urban Meyer, to the Ohio State locker room.
They would most definitely be thrown out. I wish they would eat them, but it wouldn't. That would be an awesome troll move, though, and I would hope that Twitter would highlight that for us.
I'm going to suggest it. I'm going to throw it out there. I hope it takes some traction. I think I'm going to wait and save that one for Saturday morning, though, so no one steal that shit. This is dropping tomorrow night.
I don't like Jim Harbaugh. I don't like Urban Meyer. I don't like either one of those teams. But, yeah, I'm going to have to ride with Michigan on this one. And it's not just because of my hatred for Urban Meyer and all things Ohio State Buckeyes, which I remember them getting trashed back in the day, 2006, 2007, basketball and football. Not a good look, guys. But go Big Blue.
All right, you're on Big Blue. They can cover the 4 points?
Sure, why not?
All right. That's the part that gets it weird to me, because these games, I mean, last year's game came down to overtime. Ohio State has, here's a fun fact. I saw this earlier when we were doing the little brief bit of prep work we did for this. First of all, Ohio State is 6-0 against Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. And Michigan hasn't won at the Horseshoe since 2000.
What would Lee Corso say?
Not so fast, my friend.
Toss out that record book.
Yeah, Ohio State is 6-0 against them in the last. They've won the last 6 meetings. That's fucking crazy to me. Because I am a betting man and I place a little bit of coin on each one of these games, it's hard for me to not pick Ohio State, if I'm being honest. I want Michigan to win. I want to see another representative, someone other than fucking Ohio State. I don't want Ohio State causing chaos. None of that. I don't think Michigan can really hang. I think they would love another chance at Notre Dame. I think Clemson and Alabama both beat them by double digits. And I want to see it happen in real time. So I'm going to ride with you. My heart says the Buckeyes. My brain says Michigan. Michigan covers, and they cover easily. I bet against them the last couple of weeks, and I've been burned left and right, so I'm going to ride with them this week and see if they fuck me.
Smart thinking.
Are we good over there? I hear a lot of clicking and moving around.
Yeah, no, I was playing on my social media. Apologies. Your boys got a little bit of clout on the interweb, and got to give the people what they want.
See, I'm trying to get clout as well like you, so I need to take a page out of your book. Maybe you could write a guide to clout, internet clout. It could be 4 sentences.
I would put my trust more in those Grand X guys that need the work right now versus my...
Oh, I don't even want to think about it. That gets upsetting. I haven't had any podcasts to listen to this week other than Ross Bolin podcast, so it's been a tough one, my friend. I thank you for acknowledging my being upset last week, and it's carried over to this one still. I still follow up on those guys and check with them.
I know what those guys meant to you, man, and I just want to let you know, man, I'm here for you. I see what you're going through.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But I don't want to take this on too long. We'll grab off. I've been going for fucking 44 minutes right now. Jesus Christ. It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, my bad. Like, how long do these things usually last? I can ramble.
Oh, no, I ramble too. They usually were, if we were in person, we could really ramble and ramble well. It's hard kind of doing it off the phone because you can't tell when someone's done talking and when they're not, or just the service is cutting out. But we're going to jump into the next one here for clean, old-fashioned hate. Yeah, look it up. We have Georgia Tech heading into Atlanta. to take on the Bulldogs, number 5. Georgia, of course, is going to be 17-point favorites in this one. Quick little note on this one. These two teams have split the last 4 games, 2-2 apiece. Basically, whoever's the home team has won the last couple of matchups. So I think we're both in agreement that Georgia wins this game, but do they cover 17 points?
Hell yeah.
You got the Bulldogs big? Let's see. They beat Auburn by 17, Florida by 17, or Kentucky by 17, Florida by 19. They should definitely be able to handle a lowly Georgia Tech team, correct?
Should be, but we'll find out. But yeah, I like 17 points. Easy, give it to them. We'll call 24.
You know, that's kind of what I want as well. That's what I think would look good. But god damn it, that would just fuck things up. Team Chaos would go and pull off the upset here. I think only because I'm talking myself into it and I like to go against the grain. I'm going to take the Yellow Jackets and Paul Johnson. Giving 17 points up on the road? Yeah, I'll take that odds all day. I think it very well could get out of hand in the first half, and maybe Georgia rests some of their starters, getting ready for the SEC championship game. And Georgia Tech sneaks out, maybe losing by 14 points or so. Or maybe it's a push. That's my best case scenario. I'm looking for a push. Just give me my money back.
Okay, then.
Alright, well, we both put our picks in here. Will, the Sunshine State... God damn it, I have tongue-tied as hell. The Sunshine State Showdown between your Florida Gators and your arch nemesis, the Florida State Seminoles. Florida's coming to this game as 5-point favorites. Oh, the line's actually moved to 6 now. Will, where's your head at?
You know, it's been a rough multiple years for me personally as a Florida fan.
You dropped 5 straight to the Seminoles.
I'm sorry, come again?
I said you've dropped 5 straight to the Seminoles.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, it's not 7. Miami dropped 7 straight to them, so at least it's not that bad.
And we've come a long way from the 90s when, Alabama and Auburn were both afterthoughts. It was always Florida, Florida State, Miami just running the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate Florida State. Hate. Loathe them entirely. I like Florida to win if Willy B doesn't screw it up. Because he has that ability. And as a friend of mine would say, he can mess up a wet dream.
I haven't heard that before, but I will start using it.
But I think we should have handled them. Willie Taggart's having a rough time on his hands this year, and I've absolutely been in love with this. This is fantastic for me. I hate them. I hate everything about them. I don't even like the town. I try not to drive through it if I don't have to. There's nothing good over there except for nothing.
They have a Chick-fil-A.
I hate them. I bet it sucks.
Oh, shit. So, yeah, Will is definitely against it. It's interesting the fact that both these teams are under first-year head coaches. You mentioned Willie Taggart. Florida under their hopeful savior in Dan Mullen. If there's a time to catch the Seminoles slipping, it's now. The Seminoles need this win to be bowl eligible. So their streak of, 38, 39 years making a bowl game is in jeopardy if they lose this weekend. And Florida is you lost to Willie Taggart. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just put a damper on my whole season. Like, you know, my season would be ruined if we lost to Florida State. I'll just be honest with you.
Your season would be ruined if you lost to Florida State.
This is me personally. Yeah, it would be ruined.
Well, you know what they say, Will. You got to throw the records out the window.
We lost to Georgia, lost to Florida State. That would be terrible to me. Kentucky, for the first time in 31 years. This is the first time that I've been alive I've seen Florida lose to Kentucky. I've never known what this is like.
I know that was a tough time for you a couple weeks ago. Let's see.
Yeah,
oh wow, that was the second game of the season.
It was, but they got in our ass.
God damn! So if Florida loses this game, they've lost to Kentucky, who's a basketball school. They lose to Georgia, which is never good if you're a Florida fan. Somehow ended up with a loss to Missouri. Couldn't tell you what happened there. And if they lost to Florida State, who beat them to get bowl eligible, yeah, I'd see how that'd fuck up my whole season too. I don't even know if I'd watch the bowl game.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't make any exceptions to go out of my way to watch it. If I just happened to be off and didn't have anything going on, I'd check it out.
Will you be watching this one and flipping back and forth between our next game? Well, actually, your game is going to follow immediately after this one, if I'm not mistaken, at 3:30. But are you going to roll this into a long Saturday of college football, or are you going to be working?
I will be at work. You know, hopefully it'll be a great day at work, and I'll be able to catch some updates and check on the games. We do have a television with cable, but I could be busy, maybe not. We'll see. I will be at work though. I'd love to watch it, but I will DVR it and watch the whole thing when I'm done. Both games.
Even if they lose.
I'm sorry?
Even if Florida loses, you're going to watch the game?
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
You can go home, delete that from the DVR like it never happened.
Yeah, you know, I got to keep the space open for South Park, Riverdale. I think American Horror Story's over with now, but man, that was a killer season.
I've never watched more than 30 minutes of an episode.
Man, you have got to get on Netflix, I believe that's where you can find them, and watch seasons 1, 2, and 3, and then skip the rest and come back for this season. Yeah,
I don't do spooky shit very well. So that's probably that's probably why I've avoided it.
The intro is just as scary as the show is.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was out after 30 minutes. It's like, I'm good. I'm not trying to be freaked out. I think it aired on FX. It was on it was like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, one of those middle of the week type deals. And I used to watch Sons of Anarchy.
Wednesday evening.
It comes out on Wednesdays?
Yeah, the current season that just aired.
Okay, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I used to watch Sons of Anarchy and it'd roll into Horror Story and I would immediately turn the TV off.
Dude, I miss Sons of Anarchy. This newest Mayans show just didn't cut it for me. I had a lot of friends tell me they thoroughly enjoyed it. This is what my cup of tea.
Yeah, me and G watched the first 3 episodes, and it didn't really hold in much water with us either, so I don't blame you there.
Dude, that intro was terrible. That opening song and then the lyrics to it was trash. Couldn't get into it. That's bad. It was soft. Speaking
of doing like spin-off shows, are you going to watch Narcos Mexico?
Absolutely. Narcos was awesome. I was all about it. Definitely going to give it a shot, and I'm sure it'll be just as good. Netflix brings the heat these days, man. I'm telling you. Those Netflix movies are up there.
TV shows. Yeah, I'm trying to look for a new show right now. It won't be American Horror Story. I heard you mentioned Riverdale. How is that? Is it a guilty pleasure show or is it actually good?
I'm gonna say it's a guilty pleasure, but now I will tell on myself. I watched the first few seasons of that Teen Wolf on MTV, and I enjoyed it.
Hey, that was a guilty pleasure for me, and I watched the entire series, the last 2 seasons, well after the show had ended.
Oh man, I missed out on the last few seasons, I believe. How many seasons was that? 4?
I think they ended up with 6.
Oh, well then I definitely missed 5 and 6.
Yeah, I watched that one. That was one of those ones like, I'll watch it, but I still watch cartoons and anime and shit, so I can't really. It's out there. I watch it. I don't care.
Or shizzle.
All right. Well, before we get into too deep of waters, you taking the Gators to cover 5?
Like you mentioned earlier, now it's 6, but yeah, give it to them by a touchdown at least. That's easy money.
I think so. I think the tides have turned. Florida State is on. They peaked with Jameis Winston, and then slowly came back down to earth. It's all going to run cyclical. Everyone thought Miami was it last year. Florida was definitely down last year. They've come back up a little bit. Florida State's definitely on the downturn. I'm curious.
It's a big Game of Thrones. Big wheel keeps on turning, crushing, living, dying, all that good stuff.
God damn, I love you. I love how you came in with the Game of Thrones reference. Hell yeah. All right, I'm with you too. I'm gonna take the Gators in this one. I hate fucking taking Florida ever, but Florida State's atrocious. DeAndre Francois, I feel like he gets sacked multiple times a game. He's definitely gonna throw some picks. I expect Florida's opportunistic defensive backs to at least pick off one pass, and being a noon game in Tallahassee, you're playing Florida. I don't think this one's a sellout just because of how down FSU is. So no home field advantage. Give me the Gators.
I appreciate that.
No problem, sir. I wonder if we'll agree on this one here. The Iron Bowl. In Tuscaloosa, Alabama
what
getting.
Do you mean are we going to agree on this? Other than is 24 too high of a number or not?
Hey, Jared Stidham can get hot. But against Liberty, where they won last week 53-0.
Hell yeah.
And everyone saw how vulnerable Alabama was. Twitter was losing their mind the fact that Alabama was tied with the Citadel at halftime last week. So maybe Alabama got caught sleeping.
Apologies, continue.
Oh no, you're good. You're all good. You already said it. Alabama's getting 24 points. But we might as well just keep this simple. Can Alabama cover 24 in this one?
Yes, they can. Will they? And will it be a Nick Saban teaching point? Who knows? They could hang 35 on Auburn if they wanted to, easily. Might could hang 41. If Alabama's on a different level right now, and this is also a biased opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to stop them currently? It's damn sure not Auburn. Auburn's gone from a preseason Heisman potential quarterback to just a dumpster fire, man. Look at California. That could easily be Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah. The only team we thought would at least
give 24. Give them 24, Paul, and that's all I got to say.
All right.
Shout out, Paul.
I mean, we thought Alabama would at least give them LSU would at least challenge Alabama, and they goose-egged them 29-0. Then Mississippi State, they beat Mississippi State by 24 points. And did Mississippi State beat Auburn? Did they play each other this year? I'm sure they did.
Yes, they play each other every year.
Yeah, Mississippi State beat Auburn 20. Mississippi State beat Auburn 23-9. I know the transitive property doesn't really work in sports, especially college football, in rivalry week. But yeah, I'm with you. Alabama. I think Alabama might. This might be a Nick Saban. Hey, here you go, Malzahn. See your way out the door. You get served papers at the end of the bowl game. You're gone. Alabama by 30.
Yeah, this could easily get out of hand quick and just pour it on.
Yeah, because Auburn hasn't won since what happened more recently? The kick six or Cam Newton?
No, actually, Auburn won last year.
Did they? Oh, you're right. They did win. Because that's what dropped Alabama. That was what kind of fucked them up. But then Alabama still won the SEC.
Yes, that's why Auburn was so salty last year, because they beat Georgia and Alabama, and they were screaming, "Why not me?"
Mm-hmm.
They and UCF went into the It Should Be Me Bowl, and Auburn got the doo-doo beat out of them.
Yeah, so yeah, you're absolutely right. So out of the last five, let's see, they were at. They played at Auburn last year. Auburn took the W. It's been double digit victories for either team since 2011. It's been double digit victories every year. The last time it was close was 2010, 2009. 5 and 1 point and 5 points respectively. Since then, it's been one team just fails to show up. I think that's Auburn this year. Even if they do, they can't hang. So, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Speaking of being rolled by the Tide, the battle for Tennessee. There's not really a name for this rivalry game, but you have Tennessee and Vanderbilt both fighting to get bowl eligible. Vandy being 3.5 point home favorites.
You know, my gut tells me Tennessee, but man, these past few years, I don't even know. I like Derek Mason. I like what he's doing at Vanderbilt. I just hope that he realizes, like Les Miles realized, Vanderbilt and Kansas will always be Vanderbilt and Kansas. Kansas is a basketball school, is a basketball school, is a basketball school, and Vanderbilt's known for being the nerds. Oh yeah, fantastic baseball team also. Those guys are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Football's not their forte. Usually give this one to Tennessee. I think they're on the up and up. Pat Steele's back. Now they've got a new head coach, Jeremy Pruitt.
He was the defensive coordinator at Alabama, correct?
He was. He started out. He's from Northeast Alabama, up here by us, up in DeKalb County. They grew up, I don't know, 45 minutes away north of us, up in the mountains.
Oh damn.
But yeah, he was a defensive coordinator at Alabama, and somebody decided to give him a head shot. That Bill did. For those of you who don't know, speaking of Philip Fulmer,
yeah,
definitely known. So,
actually, did so Phil Fulmer? He's the athletic director now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so he's going down as everyone knows. Or I've always just assumed Phil Fulmer was just the head coach, and he kind of runs the town like a unofficial mayor. Kind of like the mafia a little bit, the Fat Phil Mafia. But I forgot he was the athletic director at Tennessee. I know people were early on in the year when Tennessee was just complete dog shit. I think they'd lost to West Virginia, lost to Florida, lost to Georgia, and then somehow pulled out a win at then-ranked Auburn. People were calling for Phil Fulmer to step in as head coach. But they turned it around recently, doing something that no one thought they would, beating Kentucky. But when has Kentucky beat Tennessee in football? Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, didn't see that one coming. But hey, actually, no, I don't have anything good to say about Tennessee. I hate them too. I hope Vanderbilt wins. I hope they win too.
I hope
that's all I can give them.
Hey, I'm on the same boat. I'm going purely based on experience. Derek Mason, having more experience as a head coach than Jeremy Pruitt, man, home field advantage. Fuck it. Give me Vandy. Maybe I can get him at 3 points instead of 3.5. Two more games, Will. I'm gonna let you get out of here and carry on with your evening. I've got number 9 LSU heading into College Station to take on Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies. LSU 2-point underdogs. Also,
yeah, interesting conversation that you got on your hands. Jimbo versus Ed. Are there two more lovable buffoons that you would want to show up for Thanksgiving or Christmas and be a part of your family?
It would be a great Thanksgiving for me, especially hanging out with my Hispanic kinfolk.
What do y'all do for Thanksgiving? Speaking of, I'm going to take some time out from the football talk. What do y'all usually do for Thanksgiving? Being Hispanic, I don't know if I know this or not.
We'll do a turkey. It's going to be very dry because my family doesn't know how to cook one properly.
Have you ever deep-fried the turkey?
No, I'm not about that life.
What? Why not?
Because they're the number one cause of household fires at Thanksgiving time.
That's why you don't do it inside. That's an outdoor activity, and then it's like...
I've seen it done. I've never cooked the turkey. I'll be honest. I'll be 30 next year, and I've never cooked the turkey. I've cooked a ham, and ham is usually what we do over at my kinfolk's house.
I do enjoy hams. They're just that much easier, and they're still delicious.
And it's going to be just as good the next day. I'm not a honey baked ham guy, but I like a good ham.
No, that's cheater's way out.
Yeah, just give me some ham. We'll do all the normal shit. It'll just be the people around the table are a little bit more brown than they are at your table.
Yeah, you're right. There's going to be a lot of Caucasians.
But yeah, that's the only difference, really, man. It's that's it. I don't know. I always assume I'm the best cook at everything. I'm always assume I'm the best at everything for the most part.
Absolutely. You otherwise, I'm the best.
Yeah, my family, I feel like, I could have cooked this better, I could have cooked that better, but they're the ones putting in the work, so I just shut my mouth and be thankful and eat it.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about. Friends, family, those that you're thankful for, good food, and what a time to be alive.
That's it. Yeah.
Back to the original hand. I like LSU.
Okay. I'm kind of in the same boat as you there. LSU's a very boring team to watch because they don't do anything spectacular offensively unless you're talking about the Georgia game. Other than that, they don't really do much. I like Texas A&M a little bit better just because Kellen Mond being a little bit more of a dual threat quarterback than Joe Burrow. Basically, Texas A&M, stuff the run, and you can win. LSU, stop the pass, and you can win. So, what's the over-under in this? I don't have the over-under on this one up here, but I could 100% see this game going 21-17.
Absolutely. That would not surprise me at all, and that's more so what I'm expecting.
Let me actually see. I can pull this one up. I gotta know. Just to satisfy my curiosity. The predicted score, the over-under is at 47.5. So I was a little bit low. They have the OddsShark, their supercomputer, how they run their little bets and stuff. They have it landed out as LSU 30, Texas A&M 28. I'm gonna go. I'm going to side with you. I'm going to take the Aggies. -2. Yeah, I think they can cover 2 points at home. Jimbo Fisher gets his first win because it's not really even a rivalry anymore. I mean, LSU's owned this one. They've won the last 7 games against the Aggies. And I think Jimbo re-sparks this rivalry, and I'm excited to see what he'll do in the SEC West. But you know what that means? If Florida wins and LSU loses, Florida's going to get UCF in a bowl game, unless UCF loses somehow. So I'm pulling for that one. I'm pulling for that chaos right there. Give me the Aggies to upset LSU. Florida's the next highest ranked SEC team. Boom. They're going to head out to Fiesta Bowl and get that ass handled by UCF. That's the
We're going to get our ass handed to us by UCF.
I will put a substantial amount of money on that game. I'm not sure which way. And substantial for me is I'll put up $25 on it.
All right, I'll throw in. Wait, no, I don't bet. Betting's illegal in the state of Alabama.
That's right. If you were a betting man. Maybe we do a gentleman. We'll do a gentleman. If you're watching the video, I don't know what happened, but I'll get it figured out here momentarily. I'm going to wrap it up. We're both taking A&M in this game. Doing one more game, Will, before I let you go. Notre Dame heading into USC. Notre Dame getting 10.5 points at home. Or 10.5 points on the road. USC, complete train wreck. What do we think?
Yeah, I'm going to have to give it to the Fighting Irish in that one. They're just... They're light years ahead of USC right now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Notre Dame is the pinnacle of college football. That's how lowly USC is right now, and nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I think Clay Helton's gone at the end of this year. Brian Kelly heads into the Coliseum, beats USC pretty good, and then no more Clay Helton, and the first big job opens up in the offseason.
Yeah, USC, they lost to both of their in-state opponents that they usually handle easily. I mean, there's never been a cause for alarm, and this year they've lost to Cal and UCLA. And that's just unheard of in Trojan land.
Yeah, it's ruining the Trojans right now because of that. So I'm all in. I'd take the Irish up to 13 points if I'm being honest.
I feel safe in that.
All right, cool deal. Well, we'll crap it off right there. The only 2 games we differed on were West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Georgia Tech and Georgia. So that's it.
You need to stop on that Georgia Tech-Georgia game, because as much as I'd love for the rambling Georgia Tech to roll on over the Bulldogs, it's not going to happen.
Hey, I think they cover, but we'll find out. I know we didn't really have enough games that we were adversaries on, so I won't necessarily need to put your picks up, but I'll definitely let you and the people know how we did come Sunday. And I'll put up all the stuff on my Instagram, which you can follow at, I think I'm jord.ash325. I don't even know anymore. I've changed my Instagram handle so many times. And then again on Twitter, jdash325, who, the reason behind that name, of course, comes from Willy B. I just stuck with the J Dash to keep it easy.
J Dash, that's pretty much what I've always called you.
Yeah, now, goddamn it, now I'm logging on to Twitter now because I'm an idiot. So, this is getting out of hand. Will, thank you again for joining me tonight. I know it was last minute. You came in, you saved the day. Any final shouts you want to give? And I'll plug your social one more time.
Everyone in the armed forces that protects us each and every day. I know that we're in tumultuous time. You do what you can. Stop giving law enforcement bad raps, people. There's good and there's bad, like there is everything. But for you to just throw a blanket statement that all law enforcement officials are bad. You know, you're also part of the problem. We need to come together as a nation. Go Gators and roll tide.
Boom, you heard it here first, people. Again, if you want to follow Will on Twitter, you can hit him up. Just type in Turd Ferguson into Twitter, and you'll be able to find him. Or you can hit his actual at Will U the letter B the letter my neighbor minus the O. Same thing on Instagram, and I'll link to everything in the show. We'll have to get you back on once college football season ends, and we can talk about, if you're able to talk about your time as a law enforcement officer.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Be my pleasure. Give some people the insight that may not know and that don't care to know. And you know, there's people out there that'll hate me, love me, may change their ways, but we're out here to make a difference in the world. At least I am. I'm trying to change at least one life for the better. So that's currently what my mission is. Thank you for having me this evening, J Dash, and hopefully we can get up soon. Maybe these holidays. Oh, one last friendly reminder: your boy's mom made some more apple pie moonshine with Everclear, not actual moonshine, because it's illegal, and Everclear can be bought in the stores. But yeah, we'll get together and sip on some of that. I know how much y'all love it.
Yeah, that shit's fire. We know our friend Dirty Joe is back in Florida, so that's not too far of a drive north for me, so maybe we met somewhere in the middle, unless you were coming down to the old stomping grounds of LaBelle.
Yeah, you know, I've got some family with cabins up around the Fort White area, so that's up close to Joe as well. It's right on the river. I can't remember what those natural spring rivers are called, but it's beautiful kayaking. But yes, let's get together soon. It's been too long.
Yes, sir. All right, Will, thank you again for joining us, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to college football, the Week 13 Rivalry Week for 2018. This podcast will be up hopefully tomorrow night, which is be Wednesday the 21st, or you can listen to it over Thanksgiving weekend while you are trying to avoid your neighbors. Thank you, everyone, and take care.